evening, everyone. I want to thank you all for attending this evening. We are the New Jersey Federation of Democratic Women. This is our February meeting, and as we all know, this is a wonderful Black History Month. We have four fabulous ladies with us this evening, all from different backgrounds, that are going to be sharing not only their stories with us, but how we as women can continue to uplift each other. Hence our wonderful title, Women Lifting Women. Our four guests this evening will be Sylvia Vason, Crystal Charlie Sibley, Bryana DeVeaux, and I hope I got that right, Bryana, and Bejeyah Eaddy. We are so thrilled to have them this evening. With that being said, I'm going to pass the mic over to our fabulous treasurer, Sean, who's going to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance.
Good evening, everyone. Please raise your hand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which we stand, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that, Sean. I'm going to be handing the mic now over to our president of our wonderful organization. And with that said, Alana Berman is going to have a few words for us, and then we're going to go into our program.
Thank you, Rachel. I remembered to unmute myself that time. I just wanted to take a moment to thank everyone who's attending, all of our wonderful esteemed panelists, and all the hard work of Sean and Rachel in putting tonight's program together. I know this has been a labor of love, especially for Rachel, and I really appreciate the ladies stepping up. And I just wanted to give a special shout out to Sylvia. I am so honored to have her on this panel. She has been a huge inspiration and mentor and a woman who lifted me up early on. And I just wanted to really spotlight that fact and thank her.
You're so sweet. You're so sweet. Thank you.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. Now, ladies, what I would like to do is acknowledge our officers here with us tonight. You just met our president. How fabulous is it, ladies? You see, we're passing the torch. You see that, right? Well, we have a fabulous millennial leading the charge. And we're learning, not only is she learning from us, but we're definitely learning from her. So we're so thrilled and humbled and honored to have her as our president. Our first vice president is Margaret Weinberger. Margaret, give him a wave. And I am your second vice president, Rachel Green. I want to also acknowledge our treasurer, Sean Hunter. Sean, you just met Sean. Sean did our Pledge of Allegiance. I wanted to introduce you to our secretary. Our secretary is Roberta Walters. Roberta, give him a wave. All right. And last but not least, Cynthia Stark. Cynthia is our communications director, and she makes us all look good. And she helped us out with everything working towards our event this evening. With that being said, we're going to have each of our guests say a few words to start the program off, and then we're going to go into our questions for the evening. So first for tonight, Sylvia, do you mind just sharing a few words with us this evening?
Sure. First of all, I want to thank you guys for inviting me, and good evening to everyone. I miss you guys so much. My name, like she said, is Sylvia Vason, and I live here in Newark with my husband, Orlando. I retired as municipal clerk from the borough of Lawnside and the borough of Chislehurst in January of 2016. I, however, still teach continued education courses for Training Unlimited, and I have also taught for Rutgers as well. I am an AKA. I pledged in Columbus, Georgia in 1971. At that time, it was Columbus College. Now it's Columbus University. And still today, guys, I keep in contact with all my AKA sisters. It's been 50 years, and we still are in contact with each other. You know, it's like they say, once you're an AKA, you are one for life. I was treasurer for the New Jersey Federation of Democratic Women for around 16 years before becoming the president. I was also transferred for National Federation of Democratic Women, as well as 4th Vice President for the National. Once I moved to Newark, I reestablished the Essex County Federation of Democratic Women with the help of some wonderful ladies and continue to be a member. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Sylvia. Ladies, like I said, you see, we have a powerhouse with us tonight. I look forward to introducing next the fabulous Crystal Charlie Sibley. Next, Crystal, let us know who you are, and I'm looking forward to you sharing with everyone how fabulous you are as well.
Thank you so much, Rachel. I appreciate that introduction, and thank you to Alana and all your executive members for extending the invitation. My name is Crystal Charlie Sibley. I am the 2nd Vice President for the New Jersey State Conference NAACP. I am also the sponsorship chair, as well as the convention planning chair for State Conference, New Jersey State Conference NAACP. I am the immediate past president of the Southern Burlington County NAACP, where I served 3 terms, 6 years as president, helping out Southern New Jersey, particularly the areas between Palmyra, coming up to, goodness, Marlton, Evesham, Mapleshade, Morristown, Mount Laurel. Goodness, I know I'm missing some, Cinnaminson. We have about 13 towns that we cover. As you know, with Burlington County being the largest county in the state, the NAACP has 3 branches in the county. At the time that I took office as the branch president of Southern Burlington County, I was the youngest president in the New Jersey State Conference and one of the youngest presidents nationally. I'm very happy to say that that has since changed. 1, because we're all getting older, and 2, we've been very fortunate in the New Jersey State Conference to have some new young leaders come in the form of branch presidents. As you mentioned earlier, succession planning is really vital to the longevity of any great organization, and the New Jersey State Conference takes that very seriously. In addition to those things, I am the director of Black Health Equity for Salvation and Social Justice, where we have an emphasis, obviously, on the disparities in healthcare for Black people, but we also center and uplift the disparities in Black maternal health. And last but certainly not least, I am the CEO and founder of Melanin and Motherhood New Jersey. We are an advocacy group for Black maternal health. And also I am a doula under Melanin and Motherhood, and I provide prenatal, labor and delivery, and postpartum services. So keep myself kind of busy. Of course, I'm a proud wife and mother. My husband, Marcus, just became the branch president of Southern Burlington, so it's still not out of my house. Southern Burlington and ACP is still very much here, and I'm the proud mother of my daughter, Heaven, our daughter, Heaven. And, you know, at the end of this year, look forward to seeing and sharing with you all a children's book featuring the importance of teaching our young children about historically Black colleges and universities. So that's it.
I love it. That's right. Snap, snap. I love that, Bay. And thank you so much for that. And next we have the absolutely wonderful Bejeyah DeVeaux. Did I get that last name right? You know, I always say charge it to the old ladies, you know, mind, not our heart, you know.
You did. You got it. You got it,
Thank
DeVeaux. It's always hard. First off, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here and just be a part of this panel. Again, my name is Bryana DeVeaux. I am the current Somerset County Young Dems president. I am the youngest board of director for the New Jersey Environmental Justice Alliance. I am, as of February, the newly recent chairwoman of the Franklin Township Sewage Authority. I'm the first woman and woman of color to be a chairwoman of the Sewage Authority. And in my in my actual job, I am a policy analyst for the Assembly Majority Office. I'm the committee aide for Assembly Higher Education and Assembly Regulated Professions. So definitely keeps me busy, but I find that just being a part of all these different organizations is key to not only what keeps me going, but also keeps me involved on what's going on. So thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Wow. So much, so accomplished. My goodness. And last but not least, my favorite buddy from the recent campaign trail, right? Bejeyah Eaddy. Bejeyah Eaddy, everyone, you're going to absolutely love, love, love. I can't wait for you all to hear from this fabulous lady.
Rachel, thank you so much. Just some back end. Rachel is like our campaign auntie who helped galvanize close to, I think it was over 50,000 women in one Facebook group, and the largest grassroots women movement that started the Women for Biden movement. So very thankful for her. As Rachel stated, I am still currently the Associate Director of Coalitions for Women in Faith for the Presidential Inauguration Committee. We end this month, so we can finally say the campaign ends this month as the administration is up, running, and all of those things. Prior to this role with the Biden-Harris campaign, I started in South Carolina, where I'm from, still located here, in upstate South Carolina on the political team, fast track through a couple of states I'll leave out along the way, but finally ended the trail that started in 2019, ended in North Carolina as the coalitions director for that key battleground state. Didn't quite flip it, but we did turn it purple, as they say now. So very excited about that as well. Much of my journey began actually doing just local campaigns, whether it be state races, governor races, being chief of staff to my lovely, lovely, lovely state senator who is choking me right now because he hasn't seen me in almost 2 years since being on this campaign. But a lot of my work birthed from being a domestic violence survivor. So making sure that I service women who look like me in my community, making sure that I'm still their voice. I still run a nonprofit. And that's what most people don't realize. I still run a nonprofit that doesn't stop, thankfully, to my board that service family, women, men, included, as well as children who are affected by domestic violence. I teach courses and create curriculums to different nonprofit and for-profit agencies on how to spot all of those things in the long-term effects, as well as I sit on currently 12 different boards and committees throughout the state, including our solicitors, domestic violence task force, my local neighborhood community board meetings, and our CDCs in the community that deal with at-risk youth that look like me, to make sure that they have a helping hand up out of some of their situations. So super excited to be here with everybody and all the women, you know, no husband, no children, no pets. So listen, this panel is all things fabulous. So I am just in awe to be here. So that is the short version of who I am. So excited to be here. Thank you.
Wonderful. As you all see, you see the smile, right? Like I'm like proud auntie here, just grinning. I'm so excited. I can't wait to get into it with you ladies and the questions. So we're going to get started. Ladies, we're going to do it. If you wouldn't mind, we have 4 questions for you. I'm going to ask you the first one. And if you wouldn't mind taking it in the order that we introduce you, if we could have Sylvia, Crystal, Bryana, and then Bejeyah, just give us, you know, a little something in regards to the questions that we asked you. The first one that we have this evening is, tell us about which female leader has shaped you.
Okay. The female leader that shaped me the most was Shirley Chisholm. Okay. She was an American politician, educator, and author. I remember when she became the first Black woman elected to the United States Congress. That was in 1968. And ladies, I was only 15 years old. But when I saw this, I said, oh, wow, this is something. This is hopeful, you know? And I said to myself, one day I would like to help more women achieve this. Um, as you know, she became the first African American candidate for a major party's nomination for president of the United States. And she was also the first woman to run for the Democratic Party's presidential nomination. Now, I was also inspired over and over again by the grace of Michelle Obama and her moving book tour. I was also inspired by the election of AOC and the newer, more diverse, younger, and record-breaking female Democratic Congress that we now have. Also this year, we have our first VP, and also don't forget our very own Lieutenant Governor, Sheila Oliver. All of these women have shaped and inspired me in so many ways.
Oh, wow. What a powerhouse list. Thank you so much for that.
Welcome. Thank you.
Crystal?
So I would say, anytime you ask me about female leaders, the first two that will always come out of my mouth are my mother and my grandmother. They're my first two, and I could go on, but everything that is my mom and everything that is me started with my grandmother. We're all women who have devoted a great deal of time in the interest of our community. It's just literally what we do. We are raised to give back, and we are raised to lead. And so I've been fortunate to see that my entire life under my very own roof. And so, we've always been told, dare to be excellent, and dare to step out on what you believe in. And so when it comes down to other female leaders who have inspired me, really, I'm going to take it back. And it could almost sound cliche because of Black History Month, and you hear about some of these leaders, particularly during this time, but I'm a fan of them 24/7, 365. And so I would say my favorite female leader is Harriet Tubman. And it's because she was literally unapologetic about the things that she knew were hers. And she wasn't going to settle for anything less. Now she said, give her liberty or give her death. But there was no in between. And so when I go out into the world and I'm out here, asserting myself as a Black woman leader, that's really how I walk into a room or really kick in a door. I'm very unapologetic about the things that I feel are important. And I lead with my community in mind, and I'm unapologetic about that as well. Some of my other leaders, and let me just say one other thing about Harriet Tubman, because I could really go on and on about Harriet Tubman. I'm the president of her fan club. Is that, she also made people come to a reckoning with where they believe they should be, what station they should be in life, right? And so when people weren't really ready for freedom, it's either you're going or you're not. And I think that that's still a place where we have to be progressive leaders, whether we're women or men. It's either you're with us or you're not. And we cannot afford any in between. And so I also greatly admire Ida B. Wells, Fannie Lou Hamer, and Sojourner Truth. Ain't I a woman? That's where I'm at. And I'm very happy to see the women in leadership now who kind of take a little bit of everything that these women brought before us. To me, it's the recipe for Black girl magic. And that's my answer. Those are the leaders who I look up to. And so if anybody, feels I kicked in the door, just send me a bill. But that's how I'm coming through.
I love that. I'm going to steal that. Send me the bill.
Send me the bill.
I love it. I love it. Bryana, if you wouldn't mind sharing a few words with us on that topic or that question.
Absolutely. I do have to start off by saying the women in my family are very strong and independent. So I learned a lot of grit from them. So without them, I honestly would not be where I am today. But my female hero leader is Shirley Ann Jackson. Now, a lot of people don't know about her, but she's the president of the Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. And when I was a kid, I read a book about how she had done an experiment with bees. And I was fascinated at that time at a young age of, I got into science and research. And I sent her an email. And to my surprise, as a kid, she had responded saying that there needed to be more women of color in the science field. And she was so excited that someone so young had asked, had these aspirational dreams and reached out to her. So in college, I studied environmental science, which is my background. And I have a degree in environmental studies and sustainability. And in school, I ended up doing a research project that won an award with one of my professors. So because of women like her, who also was the first woman to graduate with a doctorate in MIT, just someone that is not afraid to aspire for more and move forward in higher education, but also in the sense of she's not afraid to be one of the top physicists in the nation. And to me, just watching someone that has broken all the boundaries is someone that I aspire to be like, and just the qualities that she has, even at a young age, I still take with me. So I've learned from her that nothing's impossible. You can do anything and everything that you want to do if you put your mind to it, and not letting anyone stop you, especially getting a doctorate. So she's one of my
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. Woo! I love just that, ladies and allies out there. I know you're getting an earful here. I know you're enjoying all this wonderful information these ladies are sharing with us tonight. Bay, bring it home, Bay. Talk to us.
So for me, I think, the person that I was able to see and meet who was my hero is definitely my mother. She taught me the definition of extending grace. That I couldn't appreciate until I was older, and it saved a lot of people that crossed my path. So definitely my mom for telling us to extend grace, and what it was, and a great work ethic that you didn't leave until the job was done. So definitely my mom, and I'm a piggyback off Crystal, because Shirley Harriet Tubman, has always just been that woman that I studied and I like, because, one of the quotes that if you ever go into my bathroom in the morning that is up is the quote, and I'm a read it so I don't misquote her. One of the things she said was, I was a conductor of the Underground Railroad for 8 years, and I can say what most conductors can't say. I never ran my train off the track, and I never lost a passenger. So for me, that, just getting up with that mentality every single day to understand what that means now, meaning you can't leave for me, any little girl who looks like you behind, right? While navigating forward, and not losing, where you're headed in life. So definitely it would be Harriet Tubman, but first and foremost, it would, be Gail Eaddy. It would be my mother. So.
Oh, that's fabulous. Thank you so much, ladies. Now I'm going to hand you over to the fabulous Sean, who's going to ask you your second question this evening.
Good evening, ladies. How are you? So glad to have you this evening. Question I have for you is, what one thing do you know about being a leader now you wish you knew earlier in your journey?
Okay, great question, Sean. For me, the one thing I know now, being a leader, and I wish I knew earlier, you have to keep a positive attitude. Listen more, observe more, and stay organized. But one of the most important things I think is you got to be honest. If not for yourself, but for the organization. Be a woman other women can trust. Have the courage to tell another woman direct when she is wrong or have disappointed you in any way. I have learned that successful women have a tribe, a loyal tribe of honest women behind them, not haters, not backstabbers, or women who whisper behind their back. Give you an example. When I was fourth vice president for national, I had the opportunity of moving ahead, being third VP if I wanted. But at that time, I had family obligations, and I knew that would not allow me to commit to that position. So I said to myself, why would I take this position knowing what I had going on in my personal life? It wouldn't be fair to the other people, um, in the organization. So, some women, I think, they fail to realize that, and they try to get on organizations just for namesake. And that's not being honest, and it's not fair to the organization. And you shouldn't accept a position. You need to show up and you need to do the work. So that's my little story.
Thank you. Wonderful.
For me, one thing I would say that I know now that I did not necessarily know or approach this work with is that the importance of respecting and understanding your own bandwidth, right? You don't have to say yes to everything and everyone. And in doing so, you'll protect your peace, because that's important. You can't approach the work with a cheerful disposition or a sound mind if you don't protect your peace. So in the realm of community service and community giving back, all of it has to start with you. So self-preservation is really important, and a lot of that has to do with you have to respect your bandwidth, and you set that boundary for others, right? And when you come in and you're new to leadership, you're excited about the new space you're in, you don't necessarily really recognize the importance of paying attention to that bandwidth until you're burned out or you're frustrated, or you're just not feeling 100% in it. And if you don't do that, you can lose sight of why you're there in the first place. So for me, that's one thing I really didn't know. And as my leadership roles have grown, so have my personal roles. So, when I began this work, I was a single woman with a Pomeranian. And I'm now a wife and a mother. And so that bandwidth shifts, right? It changes. My passion for the work doesn't have to change, but how I execute it must. So I think that anyone, there's one thing you just kind of look back on, it's like that bandwidth is really key, because if I were to approach this work today as I did when I became the youngest president, I wouldn't meet the mark. And in that sense, and I fail my constituents.
Thank you.
Yeah. So one thing that I wish I knew earlier on this journey is just the fact that everyone's journey is different. As a millennial, we're so used to going on social media and seeing this person's life flourish in this direction. Why isn't my life? And comparison is the thief of joy. So when you compare your journey and your story to somebody else's, it's your journey is how it's supposed to be going. There are many times where I find that we question ourselves. I've questioned myself as to why am I not in this position? But I found that throughout my journey, starting off as just a special assistant, I learned the skills and the skill set and was able to develop what I needed to in order to move forward as a leader, as the head of different organizations, in my career in general, in policy and public service. It started off with starting off as a special assistant, starting off as an intern, and learning that even the small jobs are even important. I mean, as a kid, when you're in high school, starting off at a jewelry store, I started off working at a mall. And, you know, you would think there's nothing I could have learned from working at a jewelry store, but I learned communication, and I learned how to speak with others. I learned how to sell things, of course, because that was part of the job. But I think just reminding yourself that my journey is different from your journey, but it's valuable because I bring something different to the table than what you bring. And for that, you know, it shouldn't be a comparison. It should be all of us sitting at a table saying we all bring something different. And that's something I've learned.
Great. Wow.
I think for me, it would be if someone had told me earlier there was no reward for like burnout, right? I wouldn't have, you know, tried to recreate so many wheels. And I think one of the lessons that I learned early in life, and I'm thankful, and somebody mentioned it earlier, was mentors, how important they were in life. And then for every area of life, I have 7 that I can't live without. And to really understand that mentor relationship was 2 ways. So I needed what they were pouring into me, as well as they needed me to show up daily and show up as my authentic self. And for me, that was important. And it has helped to guide every area of life and prepare me for every area of life, and, you know, just save me so many dog years, right? And so many sleepless nights, just knowing those 2 things and taking it all in part.
Wow. Thank you, ladies. Beautiful. Really nice. Powerful. My next question is, what will you tell young ladies who are just starting out in their leadership path?
Okay. Well, a popular term that we all have heard and that has started to gain traction among the younger generation is the word queen. You often hear other women referring to another woman as a queen, or commending another woman for her accomplishments with the phrase, yes, queen. You know, I constantly hear it thrown around among the entertainment industry as well. For instance, Beyonce herself is referred to as Queen Bee. And let's not forget Queen Latifah. A quote that comes to mind is that real queens fix each other's crowns. So ladies, I think it's time that we live by this quote. The next time you see a woman, especially a younger woman, working towards success and her goals, empower her, give her support, be her hype woman, give her advice, give her encouragement, give her every ounce of effort you would want someone to give to you if you were in her shoes. And by doing this, I promise you, she will never forget it. And you will never know that one day it could pay off in the future for you and the many other young women around you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So some of the advice that I would give a young woman coming into leadership is, number 1, be uncompromising. Be uncompromising about what you believe. I'm not encouraging anyone to be difficult, but there's a difference between being difficult and being uncompromising. Stand on your principles. Believe in what you bring to the table. Don't let anybody take that from you. If you got into a position of leadership, whether it's through an election or a promotion, somebody believed that you could do the job. And now it's for you, it's only for you to prove them right or to prove them wrong. But you can prove them right. And to do it by believing in what it is that you bring to the table in the first place. And so, you know, it's okay to stand your ground. And it's also, I would always encourage a woman to not be swayed by any of the stereotypical things. Women, we assert ourselves and we're strong. That is their baggage. You don't have to carry it. So you go into the room and you own it. And that's one of the main things that I would always tell a young leader. And two quotes that I really love are empowered women empower women. That's number one, short and sweet. But the other one I saw in the last couple of months that said, surround yourself with women who will mention your name in a room of opportunities, even if you're not there. And to me, that really stood out because it makes you think about your circles and who is in your corner, right? Be careful who's in your corner or in your circle, but not in your corner. Be careful, be mindful of the company you keep. And remember to keep yourself first when it comes to self-preservation. That's what I have.
Great. Thank you.
I would say I still feel like I'm starting out, but I would say that for young women to join as many organizations, as many charities as possible. I think starting out, joining as many organizations or being a part of different groups, you network, you learn what you want to focus on in your career or what you want to move forward on or things that you want to develop business wise or on the side. I find that joining as many groups as possible and networking and meeting other women that may have the same interest as you can start to develop something together. And I think that that's something that I've always wanted to, that I've told college students is, especially when you get into college, joining as many things as possible, starting out. And that way you can move up in whatever position you may start out at. And it helps you in the direction of where you'd like to go in your career. The other thing that I'm consistently learning is that leadership can be uncomfortable. It, as a woman, especially a woman of color, it can be uncomfortable at times to be in a leadership position because sometimes this is new. Sometimes this is the first time ever being at a table. And it's important to recognize that you add value, that your opinions do matter. So even when you're at the table, you should speak and say what you feel is important and not to be afraid of that. And I think especially starting out, I was terrified and afraid of saying what I wanted to say and speaking my mind. But starting out, I had a great boss who towards my second job helped teach me that my opinions and everything that I said mattered. I'll never forget, he invited me to a meeting and it was one of the top people. And he had asked me, so do you have any thoughts? Do you have any opinions? And I remember sitting there thinking, you want to know what I'm saying? You want to know what I'm thinking right now? And he was very encouraging. And he said, yeah, I want to know. And that really started and helped me grow as a person. And so I just would like to remind all young women that your opinion and your values do matter. And it's uncomfortable sitting at a table that has never pulled up a chair for a woman or a woman of color. So you just have to be prepared.
Great. Thank you.
I think one of the things that I would definitely tell any young leader coming in is, before you could even think about leading, make sure you're ready to serve. And that was a learning lesson for me. You can't lead me if you can't serve me as well. So knowing that you're serving the people that you're also leading is huge. I think that for me would be number one. The second thing is one thing that my mentor, she tells everyone that she mentors along the way, and her business clients, she tells the same thing, is she always tells them, make sure when you get to the table, as much as you pray, you also prepared yourself. So that's also something that I tell young girls as I mentor them. It's great to get you in a room, to get you at the table, to even get you the position, but are you prepared to lead once you get there? So just making sure that, we equip as well as elevate along the way is huge, and making sure we keep that in the culture.
Thank you so much. It's great answer, inspiring. Well, I'll have to turn it over to Rachel. And thank you, ladies, once again for all the wonderful answers.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Oh, look, ladies, let's get some snaps going on out there. These ladies are tearing it up tonight. I'm enjoying it. I'm telling you. You got me thinking. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to use that phrase. And yep, I got to remember that right there. Thank you, ladies. You're doing it. Now, the next question we have for you this evening, and I'm curious to see how you're going to answer to this, if you really think it has happened yet or not, but let's see. How can women leaders help to uplift their sisterhood moving forward now that the glass ceiling has been shattered?
First, you got to start with encouragement. Okay, you want to start a business? Say yes. Let's go. How can I support you? This is what you want to say to your sister. You want to throw an event, you want to host a workshop, buy a puppy, attend counseling. Yes, I'll buy a ticket. I'll even buy a dog bowl, okay? And answer your calls anytime you want to talk. Next, you need to ask her powerful, positive questions. Women, we are so creative. We are, many times the ideas we come up with on our own are more effective than anything someone can tell us. Create action plans with her, with your sisters, by asking her questions, prompting questions, instead of telling her what you would do. And lastly, be present. Show up and be proud. Celebrate her effort and her work. Encouragement is the best way to keep going, and celebrations can be as simple as a quick text, an email, a hug, and also a glass of wine. We are all in this together, and it's time we start lifting each other up instead of silently holding each other back. We want, and I want, especially our our fellow females to be loved, supported, encouraged, empowered, educated, successful, and fearless. I want them to achieve their goals, and I want them to spread their wings. I want to see women thriving, and to do that, we have to play an active role in the lives of our fellow females. So, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to say yes to other women, and I'm going to get behind whatever they are trying to do. And I will consent to even having a Fix or Crown award if that's what you need.
Oh, I like that. Fix Your Crown award. Alana, mental note. I think we're going to seal that.
Oh, I'm ready.
Woo! Talk to us, Crystal. I love it. I can't wait. Crystal's gonna bring it. Come on, girl. What you got for us?
So you know what, to uplift sisterhood, there's a couple things that I think that we have to include. So number one, you have to look at your other women as sisters. That's the first thing. Sisterhood, you have to put an emphasis on sister. And so you can't look at every woman who wants to make an impact as your competition. You should look at her as an ally. She may have some different gifts to bring to the table than you, but all for the greater good. Another thing is anytime I'm trying to mentor someone, another young woman leadership, I always let her know there is power in humility, right? One of the reasons why many of us really didn't care for there's several reasons, care for the outgoing president of the White House is because he certainly lacked humility. There's nothing grand. There was nothing more missing out of a leader in him than humility, right? There is power in humility. Humility has nothing to do with being less than. Humility says that you are open to learn, you're open to love, and you're open to lead. And so I really like to look at leadership as not only a place of power, right? But what gives you that power? Humility, confidence, right? People, they can go in the same space without canceling each other out. So you have your humility, you have confidence, you have, what you bring to the table, whether it's the form of a formal education, if it's a vocational skill, entrepreneurship, you know what you bring to the table. You write your own recipe. And the other part of sisterhood is knowing that there's someone there who you can lean on and reach out to as you're trying to grow, right? There is never a point, at least for me personally, as a leader, where I still don't look up to someone else. And there is always that woman who I can call on to say, hey, what do you think about this? Let me run this by you. This is how something somebody said made me feel. How should I accept that? These are conversations that you should have when you're trying to really uplift sisterhood, because what you also need in sisterhood, you need a place of safety, right? You need a safe space where you can share, where you can cry, where you can laugh, where you can learn, and where you can grow. That's all a part of sisterhood. So again, my huge focus is on there's power and humility, because that humility also grounds your humanity. And if you really want to lead with longevity, and you really want and longevity for you and for those who benefit from your work, sisterhood is important, and being authentic with other women and not viewing them as competitors is how you really bring everybody along. Look back, grab her hand, take her to the mountaintop with you. And that's it.
Bryana, come on. What you got for us?
So what I find is how we can uplift one another is just being there for one another, being present with one another. There are moments on any career journey, leadership journey, where you need someone to talk to, where you sometimes don't feel good enough, or you need to bounce an idea off of someone. Having a Rolodex of women that you can call and say, hey, you know what, I'm just not feeling my best today, and being able to talk and say, girl, you're fine, you got this, is powerful, even though it's so small and we don't think much about it. Sometimes there are days where it's just so stressful, and you never know how powerful a conversation, as small as it is, can really impact a person's day. Just being able to say and giving another woman confidence that you can do this, that you are on the right track, really makes a difference. And I find, having those conversations with some of my friends and many women in politics and friends from college, that has really kept me on track. So I definitely encourage us to be there and to be present. And when someone calls, answer the phone or text, or even if it's just a quick text saying, hey, I hope you're doing well, I hope your day is going, you got this. Just a reminder. Everyone needs a reminder that they're good. and that you're doing well. And it could change the course of the person's day. And little things like that really come a long way.
Thank you for that. Day, what would you like to leave everyone with?
One of the first things is becoming her mentor, if that's what she needs. But also more importantly is making sure I shut down any negativity before it reaches her door. Because I have to be her first advocate, right? And it's not to be the advocate of every woman, but if I'm her advocate, then she becomes someone else's advocate. And then it becomes like a constant chain of women who just protect women. Because like you said, there has already been a glass ceiling shattered. So one thing that we taught girls on last week at a mentoring class is now, you can step anywhere, but make sure there's someone there to watch and make sure you don't step on the glass, right? So just making sure that I'm going ahead of her and leading by example is the best way I know how to lead and uplift this next generation, and also a generation that may not be behind me, but also in front of me, right? Because I don't want to forget that I also may have to push women in the back who are still leading me and who are still empowering me. It's an ongoing cycle.
Wow. Ladies, thank you, thank you, thank you. My goodness. I hope you ladies, I know you're busy giving us all this wisdom, but you have to check the chat out. The ladies are just loving you, loving the responses, and giving you such wonderful love and feedback there. So, I hope you could check that out. Yes.
Can I just interject? We did get a question from the audience. If
Wonderful.
our panel
Thank
would
you.
be so kind as to entertain a free roaming question. How do you tackle politics created by the quote old boys club in your area? Can you please share some strategies?
That's a
Everybody's
good one. Personally, for me, I try to ignore it and keep doing what I got to do to do what I need to do. That's the best way, and that's how you're going to keep this positive attitude. Also, just do what you know is best for you and your organization, and just keep it moving. Keep it moving.
I would also say, I get it. I think that a friend of mine and I were talking a long time ago, and she said, if I have to pull up a folding chair to this table, I will. So, I will pull up a folding chair if I have to. But I think just being a part of politics and government is the right step in the right direction. And I think that I have to remind myself, and my biggest purpose and the reason why I work in government is because I serve people. I work for people. I want the best for residents. I want the best for the people that I serve in the community, whether that's, being the commissioner of Franklin Township. I want the best for people. And so sometimes you have to forget about that, and you have to remind yourself the purpose and the reason why you're doing what you're doing.
I guess I would say for me, my work is a little different just because I come from a perspective of civil rights and activism and advocacy. And so when it comes to being at those tables, like Bryana said, I bring my own chair if need be, but I'm also not afraid to ask a gentleman to stand up and give me his. And then I'll sit down and I'll say what it is I need to say, because the constituents who count on me to get in that door, they expect me to make sure I make my way to the table. They make sure that I'm there to say the things that are going to benefit them on their behalf, because they're often excluded from those spaces. And, in a worst case scenario, I don't need a seat. I can stand and talk. And either way, I'm going to make sure that I'm going to say what needs to be said or what I deem necessary to be said in these different spaces. And when it comes down to the good old boy networks, I don't care about that. You know, I say what I have to say. And then when I walk out the room, I know they're watching, but they also heard me. And so you just go in there and, you know, you make the impact. You know, you stay firm with the thing, whatever the topic is. If you're talking about wage discrimination and you're coming in the room to talk about wage discrimination and why it is not fair that you're making 70 cents more per dollar than then you go in there and you state that. And you put it in their hands to either be on the right or wrong side of history, but you've done your part by putting it out there. So, you know, sitting, standing, neither one stopped me from talking. And I'm going to go in there and I'm going to say what I feel like I have to say and move on. And that's it. And they watch you leave and look at you with disgust, but you left it all on the field. That's all you got to do.
I think just to piggyback on what everybody said, I think that's very true. I come from a good old boy state, not just a network. Our whole state is a good boy system within the whole state itself. So making sure that we acknowledge where we are at all times. It's very important, knowing our audience, and then not being afraid, you know, like John Lewis and so many others have said, to get in good trouble. You know, the worst they can do, you know, even in these times, is death. But, you know, the oppressed have to, you know, stand and be willing to die for what they believe. And that is the generation that we raise up around here, right? With our young activists and with our next leaders, who will even overtake and, you know, lead after us. So that is just my 2 cents.
And I just want to say one other thing. You know, the good old boy networks and even the good old boy states, for them, they recognize or they expect that to be a mechanism to be fearful of, right? They created that and they made it with the basis of it being exclusionary, right? But that's for them to believe, you know, dispel the fact that that's supposed to be excluded. Women belong in all spaces where decisions are being made. The good old boy network, take that and do something else with it, but I'm still going to be in that space. And you have to, like she said, know your audience and know your space. I would never ever insinuate anybody should do anything unsafe, but when it comes to good old boy networks in spaces like meetings and things like that, you know, recognize that you belong there. And that's for them. The only people who think you don't belong there, that is again for them to deal with. You come in and you state your case. That's their problem.
Thank you, ladies. Wow. Tara said she wished you could see her clapping right now because, you know, you're getting some snaps and some claps, some amens going on. The ladies are loving it. Alana, I think you had, was it one more question, Alana?
Yeah, one more question. We had somebody just say that they were congratulations to all the panelists, that the public is so proud of you. So I think you all should know that. And then the last question to wrap up the night is, what advice would you give to an individual interested in running for local public office? Like, list one step that you would do to prepare yourself for that.
First thing I would say is make sure that you know, if you're going to run for any office, make sure that you know your community. You know where you're, you know, on the local level, if that's where you're going to run. And of course, make sure that you got us behind you. You want to join us so we can get behind you and be your helping hand. So you need to just get involved and know what the community needs and what you need to do, and just do it. And if you have a certain platform, that would be good. If you have a certain platform that you need to run on, that you need to talked about, be fearless in that and just keep it moving. No matter what anybody say, just keep it moving. And there's one thing I want to say about us uplifting women is we have, there's 5 things. We enrich the economy, women do, okay? We are more financial powerful than ever before. We become better mothers, okay? Moms are just about the strongest group of women in the planet, okay? We become better lovers also, okay? When we feel free and safe and sexy and alive, in charge and in power, we make better partners. And another thing is that we inspire empathy and love. As women, we are tough, but we also bring a special kind of motherly instinct to our jobs and lives. And you know why? It's because we possess the ability to create new life, okay? Human life is born through our bodies. And lastly, but not most important, is that we also become outstanding mentors, because a lot of times we have taught our own self things. And then by teaching our own self something, we also try to teach somebody else something. And then, have you ever done that and you've been complimented on how well you taught it? If you have, that's because mentorship is most potent in the heart of someone who knows what it's like to learn alone. And many times women learn alone. If they are strong and they want to do something, you know, they don't wait around sometimes for people to teach them. Okay, we learn alone. So that quote that says, "Here's to strong women," may we be them, may we know them, and may we raise them. What I think that means is that we all have a chance to pave our own way and to connect with other women who are also paving their own way. And we all have to come together to uplift others who are on their way up as well.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. My goodness. Crystal?
So what I would tell a woman who's considering running for office, the first thing, assemble a team of confidants. You need to have that squad in your corner for the nights and the days when it's hard, right? Prepare yourself for criticism. Recognize how thick your skin is or isn't before you decide to embark on the journey. Prepare your family for the same, the criticism, whether it's them being criticized or how difficult it is for them to watch you be criticized along that path, right? And then also, obviously, if you're going to run for public office, you should have you should have a pulse on the community. You should know that community. You should recognize the strengths of the community as well as the deficits of the community. Make sure that you look into the areas around financing a campaign. Do you know any local fundraisers? Anyone who could be on your team to manage to manage the finances of your campaign? Again, that person should probably be one of those very trusted confidants. Vet who's going to be on your team to get you over the finish line, because those people could either make you or break you. Once you let them in and they're as close as anyone can get to a candidate, you want to make sure you have the right people surrounding you. You want to make sure you have the right people within 6 feet, right? Anyone who you feel comfortable enough in your space that you're not looking for 6 feet, maybe that could be someone you consider for your close team of confidants. Think about your trajectory before you run. Make sure this is the race that lands you to the space that you think you ultimately want to be in, right? You know, there's different routes to a lot of different places. Make sure this one is going to send you on that right path. You know, consider everything you have to gain and everything you have to lose, and decide what's best for you. At the end of the day, you know, believe in yourself and believe in the decision you make for yourself, and make sure you're making this decision because it's a decision you want, not because it's necessarily something that someone else thinks you should do.
Thank you for that. Bryana?
I would say you should know why you're running and what your purpose for running is, because campaigning is a lot. It's a lot of hours. It's a lot of work. You're not going to see your family as much as you'd like to. There are days where you're up and about at 3 a.m. So sometimes, because it takes so much effort and so much work, your reasoning and your purpose for why you're running gets lost in translation. So just know what your purpose and why you're running is. The other thing is understand the needs of the community. If you are running, whether it's local, county, state, even federal, you should know the needs of your constituents, because that's most important, because your constituents will be reaching out to you asking why things aren't done. They're going to have concerns, and constituents will essentially be the ones to need you the most, especially when things are going awry in their lives. They're going to reach out to their elected officials, and that's the most important part and most important job of the office, is to service constituents. So 3 things: the reason why, the purpose, and making sure that you know the community's needs and your constituents' needs.
Thank you. Thank you. Bejeyah, do you mind finishing and sending us home tonight?
Definitely, will piggyback off of Bryana is knowing your why, understanding your why. A shameless plug to Emerge. I'm one of their alumni. Get qualified training and understanding. I don't care what the seat is. That is important. But your why will propel you through it all. So your tough skin will come from knowing your why and seeing the conditions in which you live, because you should be running in the community in which you live in, right? And covering that community. So that'll propel you, that'll keep your skin tough at all times. And lastly, don't be afraid if family don't support you. Listen, there was many days my mama wanted me to quit the Biden campaign. I tell people that all the time, because they will see when you're run down and they don't quite get it. So don't let that throw you. Just get you a tribe of other women and sisters and friends and folk to pray for you when you can't pray for yourself, and they'll keep you hydrated. And drink water the whole time you're running. Drink water.
Wow. Thank you so much. Ladies, look, I want to give you applause. I know the other sisters are giving you applause tonight. You all were absolutely, yes, absolutely fabulous. Oh my goodness. Bejeyah, Bejeyah, Crystal, Sylvia, thank you so much for Bryana. Thank you so much for tonight. It was absolutely fabulous to have such a diverse, not only in background, but in experiences, to come to the table to be able to talk to us tonight. Was absolutely fabulous. And I know for me, I learned something. I always do. You know, I learned you're always a lifelong learner, and if you're always a lifelong learner, life never is dull, and you always will learn something new that you can bring to the table and be successful with. So with that being said, ladies, thank you so much for joining us this evening. I am going to hand the mic over to our fabulous president, Alana. You know you are welcome to stay with us. We're going to start our business portion of the evening, but I hope you won't be strangers. I hope you'll come back and visit us here at the Federation. And also a quick reminder to those who don't know,